Jesus here says, look, there are two types of foundations. There's good foundations and there's bad foundations. And a good foundation is this. It's someone who seeks after God. He's like a man who comes to me, Jesus says. He comes to me seeking me out. And hears my words. Step one, step two, comes to me, hears my words. But then he says there's a step three, and I'm convinced that the thing that makes the difference between a good foundation and a bad foundation is step three. It's not step one and two, because step one and two, everybody there in that group had already done. They'd already come to Jesus. They had already heard what he had been sharing with them, the blessed bees. He'd done all that. But he said, those that are like the one that built on the solid foundation, they are the ones who then act on my words. I very early in my ministry was in what we would call a combo ministry job. Okay? I was in charge of student ministry and worship ministry at my church, because we didn't have enough money to pay two separate people, so they pay one person and work them twice as hard to get them to do that job. That's how that works in the church sometimes. And so I was with students and worship. And I was super young. I'm in my early 20s, and I had this family come to me and said, hey, can you have a conversation with Johnny? Oh, sure, what's going on? Well, there's this thing we've been trying to talk to Johnny about and everything, and he just doesn't get it, and we're really worried he's going to kind of head down this direction and all, and would you mind just having a conversation with Johnny? No problem. I'd love to talk to Johnny. Great kid. So I go and I sit down with Johnny, and Johnny kind of tells me some of the struggles, and I kind of say, well, hey, like these are the whys. Like this is why you need to do this, and this is the thing and all. And so a couple days later, I see his parents, and his mother is thrilled. Johnny's mother is just jumping up and down, excited. Oh my gosh, Johnny came home from that conversation, and he's going to try some of these things, and this is so great. We feel like it really kind of helped him turn a new leaf and all. Thank you so much for doing that. And the dad just looked at me with a frown on his face. And I'm like, well, did the two of them not hear the same thing, or what's going on? Finally, he kind of sees me looking funny at him. He goes, do you know how many times I told that kid the exact same thing you told him? I did not understand in my early 20s just how real that would become. Because I eventually had teenagers and 20-somethings. And occasionally, they'll come home and they're going to be like, Dad, you can't believe what so-and-so just told me. This is so amazing, and I want to do this, and it makes so much sense. And I obviously have had too many of these conversations because I have pulled out all of my hair saying, I've told you this hundreds of times. But that's incredibly natural, right? Right, we're used to the idea of it makes sense from somebody else, but maybe not from the ones that are closest to us. And Jesus says, look, here's the thing. Many of you have come to me. You gather in a church building. Many of you have heard my words. You've read them in the scripture. You've heard them shared in a Bible study class or in a service or whatever. But many of you are like the one that built this house on sand, because you're not actually doing the things that I've shared. Having all the knowledge, does it make the difference? If the doctor comes to you and says, you have diabetes, well, then you went to the doctor. The doctor then shared information with you, and then the doctor says, look, for you to be healthy and successful moving forward, you need to cut sugar out of your diet, and we need to put you on this medication. You go, oh, that's great. Thanks so much for telling me that, doc. And on the way home, you go grab 2 dozen Krispy Kreme donuts. And then you wonder 6 months later why you're not getting any better. See, a lot of us do that in our spiritual walk. Oh, yeah, God, I mean, I love you, and I want to worship you and all that kind of stuff. And God, I know that this is what you want for me, and that if me and my house are actively serving you, this is what it should be like and all and everything. And then we don't do any of those things, but then 6 months later, we're like, God, why am I having so many struggles? God, why are things not working out? God, why are my kids doing this? God, why am I facing this in my marriage? God, why is this going on at work? It's real simple. It's because we're like the man who built his house on the sand. so that when the waves came and the winds blew, we were not able to say, like it said in the song, that my house was built on you. Now, my house was built on me and what I wanted. Jesus came to make an eternal difference in your life. He didn't come to start a religion. He didn't even come to start a movement. Jesus came to make an eternal difference in your life. And in doing that, he offered himself as the sacrifice for you and for me. And we celebrate it on the first Sunday of every month when we gather together and we take communion. And as we come to his table, we are reminded of what he did for us. His body was broken so that we might find restoration. His blood was spilled so that we could be made whole. Because there was a debt of sin that we could not pay, that we could not ever come up with a way to make right, and instead Jesus made a way for us to be right, not in our own abilities, but in what he has done for us, in the grace and mercy that he pours out on us. But that doesn't mean that there is not a cost. That does not mean that there is not a step that we take. And that relationship with him, we come to him, we hear his words, and then we say, as for me and my house, we will serve. We will act on what we have heard. We will act on what we have seen by coming into his presence.